What's up? What's up? Hey guys, how you doing? We on this Father's Day of Big Talk. Oh, I said that wrong. Father's Day edition of Big Talk podcast here, and I am excited to have my cousin Tim Hunter on here because to me he is the father of all fathers. His son is doing great things. His oldest daughter is doing great things. Little one coming up is doing great things. So really exemplifies what a good parent is. And I'm hoping that I can have my kids turn out as good as his are, and that I'm showing and becoming a role model the way he is. So thank you for being with us.
Thank you, man. Thanks for having me.
He's also a world champion powerlifter, national level bodybuilder. So he's doing it all, man. And he's running food bank. Is that what it is?
Yeah, it's running the culinary arts food bank department.
And on a large scale, though, right?
Large scale right now.
What is that? What is it?
So right now we're doing food for the homeless. Sussex County, we're doing like 1,100 meals a day.
Wow. Yeah, so I mean, he's just all around good dude, man. I'm just proud that he's my cousin, more like a brother. And oddly enough, this sport is what brought us kind of close, started us getting close, and it's just blossomed from there. So it's been a blessing. We have Tom Cedeno here, one of Above and Beyond Physique's finest trainers. He's himself in the powerlifting realm. You've done two meets? One meet, and he trains athletes and has had great success with that. So he'll give the trainer's perspective here, and then we have the man with the new shoes.
Say word, I was waiting for it.
Not red this week. Rashaad Scott. Yes, so he got new shoes, so we get his name right. Mm-hmm. But yeah, man. So things are. The world is constantly changing. Things are good. Conversations are being had that haven't been had in a long time. And it looks like the bodybuilding world is going to get back in flow of things soon. We just had another show canceled, though.
Which one?
The Delaware show was canceled, so we were supposed to be 7 weeks out. So now we're looking at Laurel, Maryland. I think the problem is, if I'm running the show, how do I secure sponsorship? How do I ensure that I'm going to be able to pay the venues and then if I'm a sponsor, how am I confident that you're actually going to have the show? And then do I know if I'm going to have enough people competing to even cover the amount of entry fees I need? Because Jersey, New York, PA, I think all of them haven't opened up yet for training for the gym. So if I'm a promoter in those areas, who am I running the show for? So I think these are real questions that I think athletes need to think about as they're prepping. I'm not 100% sure the New York Pro is going to go on. They keep saying it is, which would be. I think if they don't have the New York Pro, I might just say, okay, this ain't. I said, I got awesome motivation in the gym right now, but Christ almighty, it's like it's definitely being tested. They say when you want something really bad, you will be tested. So.
Yeah, you're going through it.
Yeah,
every other day, you're like, man, I'm just tired. I'm just tired.
Yeah, I think one morning this past week I was got up, getting out of the shower, and I'm just like, my neck, my foot, my leg, my quad. I'm like, man, I'm done with this. And then as soon as I said that, John Meadows sends me a text saying, man, your shoulders and your legs are looking way more massive. And I'm like, hell yeah, let's do this, man. Let's do this, So, it doesn't take a whole lot of motivation. You just need that reinforcement sometimes. And that's why it's super, super important to keep yourself around like-minded people, I think sometimes, and you can probably attest to this, when you're around normal people that aren't involved in what we're doing, it's hard to stay motivated sometimes.
Oh yeah, definitely. That's why sometimes I have to come up to the training center just to hang out, because being around that atmosphere, you have to be around it sometime. And I'm pretty good about motivating myself, but when you get to see that and then you take that back, that kind of keeps you going for a while.
Yeah.
So I got another thing with me now that I have to make sure I don't do, around everyday people in regards to me trying to start myself. Like I hear people say, "Oh, I hate my job. I'm miserable this, and I can't stand this person." Da 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 da. I really wish I could do this. And then the first time I said, "Well, why don't you try it?" And then like, "Well, I can't because of this. I can't because of that." And there are real reasons. Like I'm not saying that they don't, but seeing how I was able to make that leap and how I was able to do it. Granted, some people say, "Yo, what you did was crazy," but you made it work for you. But then I was like, "Well, I made it work. So why can't you?" And then they keep going back and forth. So I just try to not say as much anymore because I don't want to come off as all Mr. High and Mighty because look, you did it, so you think you're better than me now. I was like, no, I really want you to be happy and do what you love to do. Like I have one guy, he makes like at least 6 figures with overtime and everything. And he hates his job with passion. He said he wants to do X, Y, and Z, da 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 da. I'm like, well, you got the money saved up. I know you do. So how about you stop buying all of this stuff that yeah, it's cool, but you really want to do this. And then you can do that. I said, nah, it's like money too much. I was like, hey,
Yeah,
man.
you don't want to take that hit.
Exactly.
You don't want to take that hit.
Yeah, but I mean, you take the hit in the short term to do, like, I mean, if you're really passionate about something and you really love it, the money will be there.
Yeah.
Because, you know, it's all about serving people. You know, no matter what industry you're in, no matter what you're doing, if you're willing to serve people, the money will be there. Zig Ziglar says, the more money I want to make, the more people I need to help. You know, and the more people I help, the more money I have. You know, so I think it's all about who you're helping. You know, and do what you're doing fit a need.
Yeah.
Right. So, how about you? How did you stay motivated? Because you never stopped training over quarantine.
No. Because I got my goals I want to hit. I just wanted that bad. So when we went into quarantine, I mean, it was tough, especially at first, you know, going from having everybody around me and having my partner help push me to just being by myself. But like, I want it. I mean, I've only been powerlifting for probably 2 years and some change solid. And, you know, the first year going into my first meet, I coached myself. But then I got with Dave Jenkins. And it's like, you know, now I'm like, okay, I got that outside eye, and I'm trying to make him, you know, basically, he's pushing me. You know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to let him down. And then, like I said, I got my goals. I'm trying to hit that, trying to finally hit 1,500 come December. So I'm like, I can't stop. I can't let it stop me.
Right.
So it's cold as hell. Still pushed it. Started getting hot as hell. Still pushed it.
What are your goals? You said 1,500, but what is that?
Oh, in terms of like the each lift.
No, like what? Like when I was powerlifting, you know, we never really did local meets, right? Dave just pushed me national. Like we did one local, like it was the Eastern Nationals, and then he just pushed me. He pushed me, and before I knew it, I was doing teenage nationals. And after teenage, I'm doing junior national, junior world. You know, like I didn't have an opportunity to sit back and think about what I was doing because my coach just pushed me. So what's the?
I mean, that's just a personal number. Like, you know, each goal as I get better, I just want to hit like, you know, 1,500 total first. Keep building 700.
So is it about the number? Is there a certain competition you want to win? Or?
Not necessarily right now.
Right.
Haven't really. I mean, of course, I would love to compete at like a national level or worlds. Like that would be dope. You know, going against the best people in the world. Like,
Right.
you know. But right now, it's just kind of step by step. I'm not too far ahead. I feel like I drive myself crazy like that.
Gotcha. So, what about you? When you were like getting ready to compete in powerlifting, did you worry about what anybody else was doing, or
No.
you just kind of focused on
No,
yourself?
when I tell you, like, I got into powerlifting, you know, it started as a bodybuilding, so I got into powerlifting just to kind of gain size. But as I got into it, I really started enjoying it, and it was I never even thought about nationals or worlds. It was always personal. Like I wanted to pull 700, you know, I wanted to squat 6. And so once I started doing a couple of local meets, then it became about numbers and hitting 2,400, 2,300. I never thought about it until people actually said something. And they're like, here was your total today. And I'm looking at the thing, and the first paper I'm looking at was like 1,750. I'm like, oh, that's pretty good. And I really didn't know what it's all about. And then everybody's like, oh, that's good, you should do this. And that kind of motivated me. But for me, it was all about, and I think that's what messes me up even now. It's about lifting. It was about lifting heavy weight. You know, and I always tell my partner, I'm probably the worst example because sometimes I'll say, oh, we're going light today, but my light is
Heavier.
it's most heavier than most because
Compared, right?
it's that powerlifting mentality that stays with you.
Yeah.
You know, even when you're lifting as a bodybuilder,
Yeah,
that powerlifting, it kind of gets you in trouble sometimes.
Definitely got me in trouble.
Yeah, because that is just your mentality now. It's not a bad thing, but it's just, you know, everybody talks about Ronnie Coleman, did he train too hard? And it wasn't, I don't think it was a point that he trained too hard, but that was just his mentality. He had that powerlifting entirely, and it was about lifting weight, you know, so.
And that's what I hear a lot too, is like when it comes to talking about powerlifters, is like you don't really compete for, most of them I talk to anyway, say you don't really compete against anybody else but yourself. You're just going to lift heavier and heavier.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
that's interesting because I know for me when I was doing it, and when I was doing it many moons ago, I remember a guy Charles Carhagen, and and there was another guy James something, but those were my two biggest rivals in the country, and I remember both of them had massive deadlifts. Massive deadlifts. So when we train for the meet, like that's why I'm interested to hear what you're saying, because when we trained for the meet, my coach knew there was no way we were going to beat them in the deadlift, but there was no way they could touch my squat and bench, and I just had to do that much more so that when we got to the deadlift, I was already ahead enough. You know, because I mean, Charles Garhagen, when we were in college, had an 800 something deadlift at 198. You know, so it was crazy. And I mean, he was a national champion, NCAA champion, and he was at Texas A&M. And they're rolling in on their planes, we're riding a little bus, you know, to go through a D3 school. And when we beat him, and when we beat James had pulled 740 at 20 years old. You know, I mean, it's just crazy. And but I had squatted, he could only squat in 5s, so I was squatting in the mid 6s, and he could only bench in the mid 3s. I was benching in the higher, like 444 or something. But that was a game plan. Like we had to hit those numbers. So like in practice, I only hit 420, no, like 410 actually in the gym. And my coach was like, "We got to go for it." So we pushed it to 444, just because we knew we needed that much ground on him when we got to the deadlift, you know. And so I was just wondering how you, like my thing, I never got an opportunity to sit back and go, well, here's what I'm going to do next to it. It was like Dave Nettles was telling me, this is what you're doing. Right. You're doing this, you're doing this, you're doing this. And I didn't know if you and Dave had that same relationship where he's like telling you what you have to do.
Yeah, he pushes me. He definitely does. Like, I mean, you see me doing those speed squats to finish off yesterday. You know, 25 seconds. How many can you do? Go, beat it every time. You know, so I mean, he's definitely helping build me up.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Now, will he pick your shows, or you still pick your own?
For the most part, I think he gives me free reign. Like I'll pick it. I was gonna do USAPL just as like a test. He was like, well, you know, of course, just getting with him at first. He was like, let's push it farther out. So I was like, all right, cool. And then Christmas card is gonna be the one.
Okay.
So we're building to that.
All right. Yeah, because I know with me, coaching people, if I leave it up to them. You know, as Jess was saying the other week when she came on the podcast, she was saying she had chose a show. I said, yeah, do that show. We're going to do this. You know, because being in it so long, you kind of know. I don't want to put my good, like, let me rephrase that. I don't want to put someone that has above average genetics and capabilities in the Delaware,
Right.
where they're going to have no competition. Right. I'd rather put them immediately in Bev Francis so I can see where we're at. And then, like, I might warm up at a smaller show so they can get that good feeling of winning. But then we're going to jump to the bigger show because I want to see where you're really at.
People that match up.
Right. And then, like it's so funny. I had this other guy last year, and I said his first show, and we're at the Atlantic States, or Easterns. Huge show. Like, that is the show before you go on the Nationals, right? So I had a bunch of guys warming up in it, and he was doing it for real. So novice is called. I'm like, hey man, get ready. He's like, well, I didn't do novice. I want to see where I'm at. I'm like, what? I'm like, what? This is your first show. Like, what do you mean you didn't do novice? He's like, well, you know, I just really wanted to, you know, see where I stand. Then juniors. I'm like, all right, let's get ready for juniors. He's like, I didn't do juniors. I'm going to get open. You did all this work, we ain't going to walk away with nothing. It's like, I'm like, oh man, I mean, I understand wanting to be the best, but I mean, we do have to walk before we run, you know. I mean, and I think that, like, to me, that's the problem. Like, I think social media is great for our sport because if it's powerlifting, someone can connect to you today and watch you all the way through your journey, and they're a lifelong fan, right? And then hopefully, if things go right, they attract enough people along that ride. Now you got a whole village of people that's following you. You know what I mean? Like a whole connection. But the bad part is, people see like a young phenomenon with crazy genetics, and they're like, I should be there. Whereas before, you wouldn't even saw that guy because he wouldn't have been in your face on social media. You might have bumped into him at a competition. You know, and that's what makes it super hard when you're you know, trying to come through the sport and you don't have the right people around you. You know, because you get the wrong influences. Like, I assume that people post their numbers all the time what they're doing on powerlifting. Right? I don't really follow a whole lot of
numbers or just their lifts, man. Like, and I do get myself caught up sometimes, but luckily I catch it now. I stop and step back, like, you know, bro. Like, I'm still fresh. Like, I'm only solid powerlifting coming into like 2 years and some change. But you know, I look at people that have been lifting for years, got years on me, and they're like insane numbers, and I'm like, damn, man, I should be there. You know, like same weight or less weight class. I'm like, man, like, you know, guys, like, you know, how much you weigh?
For me, right in 226, I think this morning. Yeah,
pulling over 700. And I'm still chasing 6. It's like, damn. And I'm 295, you know. So.
Well, you know, that's where the training really comes into play. Like, your training has to be so sound because I remember at 190 something pounds, 200 pounds, I had certain lifts that were way stronger than what they are now. You know, at 250, you know what I mean? Like, my lifts are so much stronger, but you're training like that to be explosive, everything to move at one time. You know, it's not about creating muscle tension as much as it is about just moving weight. You know,
can't move heavy weight slow.
Right. Speed, right? Yeah. So
soon you slow down,
it's a wrap, baby.
When it comes off the ground, it's just like for me, it was deadlift. I knew my deadlift was going to always carry me through, but it was like, and my theory in my head was, if it comes off the ground, it's got to come up. You know, and that was always my theory. If it's coming off the ground, there's no way it's going back down. So it's the same thing with that, you know, but it just takes time. And like, I won the Worlds and I was 238. I was nowhere near 242. I was 238 both times. But, you know, so weight sometimes I'm stronger at that lighter weight than I am at 242.
Yeah. What was your top deadlift?
740.
Wow. Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah, I'm struggling right now.
Deadlift's one of those things, if you don't do it often, though, you can't be good at it.
Oh, yeah. That's my favorite.
You have to do it consistently, right? Because I know for me, like, I haven't really deadlifted consistently in a while, rack deadlifts, but I haven't deadlifted from the floor.
I think I filmed you the last time you did deadlifts, too.
Yeah, we did like 635 or something like that in sumo. Yeah. And that buckled my knee and really messed me up because, again, I hadn't done it.
Right.
And I was just showing off for the camera. Right. So, and I remember I was, you know, like I always say, you get hurt because you're feeling yourself a little too much. But I was definitely feeling myself that day. And oddly enough, I literally did that deadlift, hurt my knee, squatted the following week, 600, pulled something on my back, and then came back the following week, we benched and I tore my pec. So I just had all around bad.
Yo, I didn't even think about that.
That's bad.
Wow. And I was there for all three.
It's all around
See, that's why I don't train with you. That's why I don't train with you.
You bring the bad week. Crazy, man. I was like, you know, but I mean, again, I wasn't training smart. I was training with ego.
Yeah.
You know, and this is what you gotta. This is another reason why I say social media is sometimes, you know, because people are putting things on there for views first.
Absolutely.
Right. So, you know, you may not even see the nuts and bolts of what someone's training because it's not sexy. Right. You only see with the highlights. Yeah. And if you don't understand that, and you don't have the right coach, then you're training wrong. You know, you're going at, like, I have to tell the one training partner that I have sometimes, you gotta respect the weight. Yeah. You know, like, proper warm-ups. You know, like, I mean, I'm not good with stretching and all that stuff, but I always properly warm up the movement. You know,
Reach the groove and all.
yeah, like just tell it. Like I always have that saying, you got to tell the body what you're doing next. You can't just jump right into it. You got to tell the body what you're doing. So if you're having a training session, you know, just because you benched 365 doesn't mean you go through 365 on incline. You got to let the body know what you're doing first. You got to warm up into it a little bit. So, good.
No, I was saying, like, we was in the office the other day, and I was doing my band work for my shoulders, and Dre was in there, and he was like, see, I be doing that, and everybody in training said, look at me like, ooh, what's he doing? But it's crazy, it's just like, it's not because you're doing anything odd, you're doing what you're supposed to do, but then, let's be real, like 90% of people at the training center, they're like, all right, let's go.
I mean, I think it's 90% of any gym, you know, because again, people don't really know how to people work out. They don't really know how to train.
Yeah.
You know, there's a huge difference. You know, like, and here's what I see a lot of times, and even like athletes, right? Athletes aren't trained to fail.
No.
They're trained to constantly increase the endurance, constantly increase the power, constantly increase the speed. So you're not really trying to fail. And, you know, so the training's completely different. And then they come in and go, I want to be big. It's a different type of training. You know, like, the training to get big is how much demand can I place on the muscle, take it beyond failure, but not do it too much so that I can't recover.
Yeah.
You know, like, that's a fine line. And it takes being uncomfortable. And a lot of people can be uncomfortable to a certain point, but that uncomfortable where you're just like, everything's burning, you feel like you want to scream.
You want to scream, puke,
And
cry.
it's like, how do you keep pushing past that? You know,
Right.
like how do you get yourself to go to that place, and not just one time, but almost every time you train.
And that's where that good training party comes in too.
Right.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Right. Yeah. So I mean, you got to want to take yourself there, man. It's like that line. You know, that line. Okay, I gotta love being uncomfortable. I gotta embrace the pain and realize that's how I get better. You know, so not most people aren't willing to do that though.
I mean, I've had a couple of those. Oh man, I think actually my last lower session before I came back into the gym, my wife walked outside and I was laying on the little platform that I built, crying, like because I put myself through it because I wanted that bad.
Right.
You know,
Right.
I know it's what it's gonna take. And then, like you said, no, you know, you don't want to take it to failure because you're not gaining nothing from that.
Yeah.
Right.
And
Right.
if you
You
do
gotta
take,
learn that. You know,
Yeah, it's like you don't want to fall off the cliff.
right,
If you're training for performance,
right.
you don't want to fall off it. Once you fall off the cliff, it's like messed up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then you're mentally messed up because you're like, damn, like I feel like I should have had it, but you weren't ready for it.
Like when I was training, my coach would make it a point we never failed on the main lifts.
No.
Accessories, but never on the main lift.
Right,
So I
exactly.
didn't even know how to fail. I didn't know it was even a possibility. So when I got on the platform, it was never a thought.
Right.
Yeah.
And I mean, it might still happen too, but it could be also maybe a technical thing. You know, maybe you messed up technically. It's not exactly like you couldn't have got it, but you know, maybe you got a little too comfortable or something.
Yeah.
And you just threw all your cues out the window. It's gonna happen, but don't let it eat you. You know.
Yeah, I remember one time we were the last time I did 198. We're at the Worlds, and you know, you've heard of Nick Best, right?
Oh, yeah.
So he comes into the room where I'm in the whirlpool. My coach has got me in there for like an hour, and I'm dying. It's hot. I'm dying. I'm just like, I get up, I get out, I get on the scale. I'm still 2 pounds up. And I haven't eaten nothing. We got to weigh in before I think 9 p.m. or something like that. And but by the time I made weight, I was so weak, so depleted. And we tried to get me to eat more, and then because you're so dehydrated, and I start throwing up if you don't do it properly, right? And the next day was just the worst meet. I mean, I still won, but my numbers were so low compared to what they should have been. It was crazy, man. Like I mean, stuff I was playing with in practice, it was like my max that day.
Right.
And it's like a bad weight cut, you know. So yeah, I mean, all that stuff's super important when it comes to meet planning. Make sure you have the right coaches and all that kind of stuff. Definitely. What you got?
I'm powerless, so I ain't
No,
got
man.
No.
You do everything else.
I mean, I do.
So
Oh, well, I'll say
Olympic
this.
lifting?
Yeah, I was gonna say I've been Olympic weightlifting a lot recently, primarily because I don't feel like my body's where it should be, like technical wise, just because like when we were getting ready for, well, I noticed it even before my show, but two things I noticed with my trap area is when I do front squats, I would feel a sharp pain in my right rhomboid, and I wasn't sure why. And then after you told me about the chiropractor next door, so I went to go check them out. They said on a muscular level, you have I think it's 5 colors. It was green, yellow, orange, red, and black. Black being the worst. And literally, almost all of my left side was just black. And he was like, "Yeah, it's your spine." Da, 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 da. And I was like, "I guess you the chiropractor, you're just gonna go, right?" So I go, and he said this was the easiest adjustment he ever did in his life. Now, he'd been doing it for like at least, 10, 15 years?
Chandler?
30. Yeah, so he'd been doing it for 30 years. So him saying that was the easiest one in his life, now I was like, well, you ain't doing this to make me feel better because I just come over there anyway because X, Y, and Z. And I was just like, so I'm like, do I really need a chiropractor? And then I just started messing with like my muscle imbalances and whatnot. Y flies, T flies, and everything, and my left side was definitely weaker. So I've been like practicing on that, and then also it's just anything shoulder related. This was like my bad shoulder because I got injured it, and because I was always on the road for 300 for like years, but I always get a shoulder injury. And I told you the story before, but I went to a physical therapist, and that see what was going wrong, and they said, I'm trying to figure out. I met this physical therapist. And I'm doing all this exercise that they got me doing. I'm breaking their equipment because I still have my strength. I'm just in pain. Please let me know what's going on. So they didn't tell me what I was like, you know what? I'm just going to stop going and do my own physical therapy, which I got better. And then one day at Snap, when we were still working down there, I think I just got finished with a client like 6 a.m. So I was like, all right, well, I got time before, I think I was helping you at the time. Before we come up and help you, I'm going to train down here. And I was doing incline dumbbell press. And I did a 90 for like 8. Something like that. I don't know if I had negatives in there. But then I felt something in my shoulder. And I'm like, all right, it wasn't pain, but let me keep monitoring it. Next day, excruciating pain when I woke up. It's like, here we go again. So I go back to a, what you call it? I went to a different, different physical therapist this time. And they said, well, your rhomboid is so small that it can't support your shoulder. So it was like completely bunched up with scar tissue and whatnot. And then I went to go see Susan. She helped out with that. And we went there, and well, she massaged and everything. They had me do extra exercise with the T flies, Y flies, and everything. And it got better, but I still felt like it wasn't where it should be. So what I started doing recently, and then after my prep and everything like that, is doing Olympic weightlifting because you have to be more in tune with your body, as opposed to powerlifting where you're just pulling, or bodybuilding where you're just trying to develop the muscle. So I'm not saying that like anything against those two, but it's just like, well, Olympic weightlifting, if your balance is off even a little bit or anything like that, your lift is just gonna look ugly, and then you on top of it you can get hurt. So I've been doing lighter weight and everything like that just to fill certain things, because like you saw me with the other day, I think it was you, doing the overhead squats. Yeah, so it's like with that, I need to get my depth down, my balance right, and it's getting better. Like I think I maxed out right now with like 75 pounds, but I'm perfectly fine with that. It's because I'm feeling out my body, my balance is getting better, my core is getting stronger and stuff like that. So that's what I've been doing recently.
It's good stuff. So basically, what you're saying is, to anybody listening to this podcast, is you've gone with Olympic lifting because the way the body has to work as a whole instead of isolation.
Yep.
Because everything has to work as a whole, everything has to be balanced, and those imbalances come out very quickly when you're trying to do certain lifts, like whether it's a snatch, a clean, push press, stuff like that. Mm-hmm. They come out. They're apparent to you a lot faster, because if something's not strong enough, you're going to see that weakness in the lift. If something's not strong enough, you're going to feel it when you're doing the movements, right? So, yeah. So I mean, like Olympic lifting is awesome. The problem is finding someone good to teach it.
Yeah,
okay? Absolutely. Yeah, I mean that's a hard thing, because I know, and then you can't be too muscle bound when you do it, right? Mm-hmm. Like the guys have thick legs, but their upper bodies are pretty slim comparatively to other muscle building sports. Right? Mm-hmm. So
you got to think they got, especially that front. Look, I can't even do a front. I don't even that big.
Yeah, like my one boy, he's like we were working out. His range of motion, it's not that great. So I'm doing this because I know I want to work on my flexibility. Now, granted, like I said, this is the most I can get up, but I can still hold my front squat even when we get kind of heavy. Now, my fingers just barely there, but I'm there. But he's doing across the shoulder because that's what he can do. But like with that, if you don't have that flexibility and range of motion, it's going to hinder you.
No, from a development standpoint, do you think there's any difference in holding it this way as opposed to holding it this way?
What do you mean, like?
Like in developing the lower body and developing, your overall strength.
Like any benefits to either?
So in regards to strength, everything from what I've read, everything from done myself, there's no difference in the actual exercise itself. So if like for the front squat, you're not mostly, you are targeting your quads more than anything else like you're doing a back squat. The primary thing is your range of motion and your comfortability. So yeah, now personally, I feel like with your fingers, like catching it here, you have more of a core dependence on yourself to stay balanced. Where if you have your elbows up, you have more assistance of keeping yourself upright as opposed to here. Because if you have no balance at all, you're going to lean forward as opposed to here.
Well, either way, your scapula has to stay retracted, right?
For sure.
If your scapula doesn't stay retracted, the bar's going to roll off the front delt.
Yeah.
Unless you're massively front delt there and you're holding the bar and you don't have to hold.
Just sitting.
I would just set it up there and put my hands down.
I see people do that all the time. Zombie squats.
But in regards to the actual exercise, you're still getting the same thing from it.
Right. I think that's what happens with a lot of people when they train legs. Why it's hard for a lot of people to develop a lot of leg size is because that full range of motion is always is most likely not there, right? So you're squatting and you're going halfway down because for some reason doctors like to prescribe not full range of motion. And I don't understand that at all because anything we do, your body's meant to do a full range of motion, right? And if you have an issue with going full range of motion, then shouldn't we work on what's giving us the problem to work that area out, to figure it out, and then adjust as you go? But the goal should be to get back to full range of motion, right? So I think that's a big part of it. What else do you think people don't have a hard time developing legs?
Yeah, I think number one, that's definitely the full range of motion, but I also I don't think they put enough that muscle under tension. Like now when we leg press, it's a 2-second hold or 5 count back, and like you said before, it's a big difference between training and working out. Right. If you want to work out, you just push in, 15 reps.
Yep.
But if you training, you got 5 count back, 2-second hold,
5 count
and
up.
then push it, right? So that's your muscle under tension. That's training for sure. And that's what's going to develop your leg more. The muscle under tension, or you just going to be here working out.
Yeah, I think what happens is when you're doing like a leg extension, you say 20 reps.
Please don't knock this down.
Now don't put this up. We are not bang. We are big sports.
Well, don't knock it over either.
You start putting the tape on.
And we have.
See,
There you go.
see, just sit down. Just sit down. It's a horrible time for product placement.
Now it was a perfect interlude to go. Sponsored by Biggie Fuel.
The energy drink. All right, look, since you interrupt the whole
some.
thing, I want to go on a quick rant on what you just said specifically about doctors and how they prescribe us, right?
Oh,
so
yes, let's go.
I have to because this really irks my soul. And then,
Yes.
So, I think I was taking my test for ACE, my certification, before we first started. So I was in the process of taking my test, and this is when I was on military orders, driving back and forth from Dover and everything. So I had a cyst on my meniscus and a slight tear on my MCL. Wasn't surgery. That didn't need surgery. It wasn't that bad, but they told me stop lifting heavy. We got to work on this physical therapy, right? And it worked out perfectly because I'm also studying for my exam. So the physical therapist helped quizzing me while I'm doing my physical therapy, right? So it happened while I was in the military order, so the military paid for everything. So the combination of me driving from Wilmington to Dover, accumulating 2-hour drives every day, my leg resting on the door with the vibrations, me walking up the ladders on the jet. So I have really big feet, but the jet ladders are like probably maybe 5 inches. Like
We don't have that many women listening to the podcast. You don't talk about how big your feet are.
it's relevant to the story.
You know, they say my big feet.
My big feet.
I can show big shoes. But anyway, but with me having larger feet, is that better? And the ladder is very thin, so I turned my feet outwards, thinking it would give me better support going up and down the ladder. And I'm squatting heavy on top of that. So all that pretty much essentially rotated my hips out and put too much pressure on my knee. So go to physical therapy, and then I finally got cleared for lifting. They said, all I want you to do, this is a physical therapist, by the way, all I want you to do is squat for range of motion, lunges, and Bulgarian split squats, just so we can apply pressure to your knee, but not too much. As soon as you start feeling pain, come up from where you are and only go that way at your depth, right? Which made sense to me because we're stimulating the joint, stimulating the muscle and everything to get it stronger. I mean, she said, whatever you do not do leg extensions. Perfect, all right? So I had to follow up with my doctor like a week or two later. He goes there and he said, see, all right, what I want you to do is not squat. He's like, because as soon as you start squatting, you're going to be walking around at 50 like you're 80. I'm like, what? And they said, all I need you to do is leg extensions. Mind you, this dude came in reeking of smoke, have a lip himself, looked like he had never worked out a day in his life, beard gut and everything, looked like he was over the age of 80, but I knew he wasn't, because I'm just like, why am I taking advice for you about the body again?
Yeah, I think when it comes to doctors, man, like here's a perfect example. I go to a guy for Grastons who was an Olympic alternate when it comes to shot putting and discus, right? So he's an athlete. He writes a lot of the programs for CrossFit people down in at a gym in Rehoboth, and so the bottom line is he knows and understands what we're trying to do and where I need to get back to. I went to another person and I got no progress. The amount of pressure wasn't there. They didn't feel like they needed to push me to that level. Okay. I mean, when I'm with this guy that I'm getting the Grastons with down in Dover, Tim, you go to him too.
Oh, yeah.
You ready to punch him in the face, cry.
Tap out.
You're ready to tap out. You're like, you're looking at your arm like, how's the skin still there?
Right. I saw that.
But you walk out, the range of motion's better.
Yeah.
The visual for me is better, and I'm making progress, you know. But when I was going to someone else, it wasn't really working. So most people will stop and they go, well, it didn't work. Most people accept it and say, well, the doctor said this. And you got to say to yourself, well, every doctor's not the same. You know, and some doctors, like the one doctor I went to before I had surgery was like, I don't think we can do it. Okay, move on. The other doctor's like, I think we can do this. I think we can do this. So you got to find somebody that has in alignment with what your goals and objectives are. Because just like, you know, the doctors can only study so much. They study medicine. You know, so when you come in with something that's not of the norm, right? If they're seeing 80 people a day and 2 have special needs, it's kind of like, do they take the time? Are they a young, optimistic doctor that's going to take the time and want to take that challenge on? Or like, you know what, I'm making enough money, I'm going to give the same standard advice, and it's up to you to navigate through that and go, yeah, that's bullshit, let me move on. You know, and that's real. Because, I mean, you know, one thing I always talk about in our meetings is when you're super, super busy with training clients, and you're seeing your 16th person of the day, and the best thing to do for them would be to teach them how to squat properly. It's very tempting saying, yeah, let's go over here and do these sumo squats. Let's go over here and do some leg extension. I mean, it's just tempting. Not that you're doing that.
Yeah.
But you really have to talk to yourself for a second and go, it's not the right thing to do. You know, because you're tired, you've been doing it all day, and you're saying, I mean, I'm sure there's been times when you're sitting there, you're the last person, like, all right, you can do it. You can do it. You know?
You're almost there.
And then they walk in, and it's like a dark cloud, and you're just like, oh. And then you get rid of that person. But anyway.
You know that. Oh man, let's not go there. Let's not. I'm gonna put an audio clip on here. Hey, shots going on right now.
But Fred.
No, but.
What is my
Some of you will know.
Oh man,
Not no more.
Here's some calls on Monday.
And again, that's another example of what I'm talking about, because that same person will probably have a great experience with somebody. It's just, and that also we talk about that all the time. If you and a client don't connect, walk away.
Well, the example is like one client, your client, like we didn't vibe together, but y'all made out perfectly.
Right.
And me and her still cool, but it's just like, I couldn't train it.
The doctor.
Personalities.
I forgot she was a doctor.
Doctor. Yeah, doctor.
Doctor, hey.
Doctor.
Oh, I hope you watching this, doctor. Oh, damn, you kicked the camera, man.
Damn, this will get right.
In his face.
Second, no.
In his face. Yeah. You ready for the close up?
This is why we ain't need no product placement. God damn.
Oh yeah.
Look at that. Good job.
And we're back.
Sorry.
Yeah. Miss me and his whole interaction
The
last
whole thing.
That's
That's alright. That was meant for
Yeah, he got
us.
that one, but
That's
still.
not my- that's not my camera.
See, that's all I'm saying.
I want to make sure I got my.
Oh yeah, but having the vibe, man.
Yo, that's everything.
important.
It's everything.
Yeah.
Important.
Yeah, I know I was telling the one trainer we got, I'm like, you got to read your clients, man. Sometimes all that extra ain't necessary. You know, certain clients like a certain motivation, others don't. You know, I think that's key to being really good at this profession. Is, you know, do I know how to motivate people properly?
Yep.
You know, I'm sure you do the same thing when you deal with chefs and all that kind of
Oh,
stuff.
yeah.
You know, how do you motivate people to do the same thing over and over again and be excited about it?
Yeah.
You know.
I mean, you know,
Everybody's different though, you know? Everybody's different. Some people don't need much, and some people you gotta kind of motivate a little bit more, so you kind of get to know your people.
Yeah.
Right.
Like we got some clients we got. I ain't gonna cut you off, but
No, you're good.
be like some clients we gotta yell at. If you yell at somebody else, they just like,
Right.
I'm out.
And that's my thing, because I'm loud when it comes to
Yeah.
it. So it's like I learn who likes that and who that helps, and then others that are like, I don't like people screaming on face. I'm like, I got you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But then you still motivate in a different way. You know?
Come on, you got
Like you
this,
got
or
this.
whatever.
I mean, I think that's been what I hear people a lot of times say is, you know, you just have a way of getting in my head, and if you can do that with your people, they'll stay with you forever, because no one else will be able to get there. Like that connection and be able to be in their head. You know, like for me, I found out how important that is, because even to this day, if I got a heavy set, in my head I hear my first coach going, nice and strong now, deep breath, go. You know, and it's Dave. You know, I hear him every time I train anything heavy. You know, and that's from 4 years of him being my powerlifting coach. You know, and telling me. And you talk about like politically incorrect. This dude, one time I fell out of the cage. He lifted me up and put me back in the cage. So you better finish these squats. Yeah, it was crazy, man. I was
You
like,
ain't done.
and you know, we had so many people quit, but it was like survival of the fittest, man. Like that first 2 weeks of training to get ready, it was like almost like he was doing whatever he could to kill you. Like you'd be doing legs for 2.5 hours straight and really be doing them. Like, you know, you would. I remember this one workout we did. It was, and this was always like the beginning of the training cycle, and it would weed out whoever was going to be tough.
Right.
Right. It was like 7 sets of 7 with 60 seconds rest at 50%. Right. And you're like, all right, that wasn't too bad. Then you go leg press, and you're on 6 to 8 reps, and then the last set is a triple drop set. And then we
Is that
meet.
normal?
Sound like what we do to our people. Well, you know, I mean, that is my foundation. And then you go over to hack squats on the machine, and you're hitting that for, you know, 4 sets, 8 to 10, 1 set to failure. And then you go over to the Smith machine squat, and I don't even know the purpose of this. I think it was just to kill us, but it was literally like 15 reps with 30 seconds rest between, over for 4 sets, right? I mean, you talk about being able to recover quickly.
Yeah.
You get used to doing that, you can cover from anything.
You know, it's funny.
It's a
I
GPP
just
out
did
there.
that yesterday with somebody.
With 30 seconds rest, yeah, that's tough. And then, I mean, I got to a point where I was doing 225, 275 like that, right? So that's crazy. But it tells you the body will do anything you put it through, right? If you're willing, if your mind is strong enough to do it. And then we go over to step ups, 4 sets of 8 step ups, and then we go over to leg extensions, 4 sets of 15. Again, I don't know why we were doing double, and then we do another 4 sets single. Why, I don't know. And then we do sissy squats, 60 squats after that, and then it was wall stands, ski squats, wall stands, whatever you want to call them. Sit against the wall, and you have to, and he timed how long. And you had to make 5 minutes. You had to keep starting over.
And this was your powerlifting coach?
That was powerlifting.
No. But then how he said, like, but then your recovery went through your GPP.
Yes.
And then that's basically what it was with me yesterday, like with the dynamic effort. So we do conjugate.
Mm-hmm.
So with dynamic effort, it's everything is boom, boom, boom. Yeah. So even starting off with squats, 8x3 at a certain percentage, you know, you got to do it with minimum rest. So we try like 40 seconds rest. But you also want it, it's still all about speed. So you got to still be explosive. So you start slowing down and take a couple more seconds, that's cool. Like, but it carries all the way to the meet.
Right.
So then, and if you're waiting, what you got, maybe we'll say there's like 10 people in your flight. If every single one of them take that full minute to do the lift, you got 10 minutes. Trust you, within 2 minutes, you're probably going to be recovered. Yeah. And then you can go perform again.
Access for over and over.
Over and over again.
Yeah, I mean, it was like some of the craziest workouts we ever did. But I mean, you know, and you'd be sore. And then like for me, I was also on the dance team, so I'd have to muster through that to try and dance the next day. I'm like, oh my God. But I mean, it was amazing. My legs were so big for being a natural athlete. Like everybody thought I was on something back then, you know. And they were just like, man, like, you know, because my legs were so much bigger than everybody else's. Because, you know, that's one of the things when you see natural shows, nobody really has huge legs. Right. And if they do have huge legs, their upper bodies are small. So, you know, and I was blessed with both. So, you know, people would think, oh, he's got to be doing something. He's got to be doing something. And I wasn't. But yeah, like those workouts are nuts, man. And anytime I haven't had one person be able to finish that, except Eddie. Eddie's the only one who can finish it. Crazy.
Psycho enough.
Yeah,
psycho enough.
Yeah, but he, like, I had nobody. I mean, I remember this guy came up from DC, and he just knew he was ready. And we didn't even get through those squats. We got to the last set of squats. He's like, my back. And you know your back's going to be fired up on that, because even if you're doing everything in perfect form, your spinal erectors are on fire. And that's what I try and tell people. It's no different than your bicep burning, your chest burning, your back. You're just not used to it.
You're just not used to it.
Yeah,
it's
but
different.
that lower back, it's muscle there.
Oh yeah.
You make that strong like everything else.
Yep.
Yeah. I remember Paul Carter tells me I don't have a back. He writes this workout for me. First week doing it, my lower back was so jacked up, but I wouldn't let myself quit. So we had a bent over rows and doing 185. I can barely do 185 because it's just like, trying to get in the position, right? Had nothing to do with the muscle, like doing the actual movement. Just I couldn't bend over.
Right.
By the time I got done that routine, like 6 weeks later, with a couple variations, man, I was doing 585. You know what I mean? 495. You know, and because it was rack deadlifts, 8 sets of 3. It was snatch grip deadlifts, followed by bent over rows, followed by shrugs, followed by dumbbell upright rows. After you do that, your lower back is it's singing. Yes. But by the time I got done, the amount of thickness I put on in my back was crazy. What don't kill you, make you stronger.
That's facts.
It's facts. Yeah, I don't know if it's like, sometimes I think you just have to be too stubborn. You know, you have to be stubborn enough to believe that you won't break and the body can keep going. And I think, like when people say, man, Ronnie he did too much. Like, I mean, I don't think he regrets any of it.
No, he doesn't. Just like he said, he was like, the only thing I do regret is not going for what was it, like three or four. Yeah, I mean, with that 800 squat, you know, like he don't regret not a damn thing. That was his mentality.
So, yeah. What you got? Watching any movies?
Actually, no.
Watching any hentai or whatever?
Some hentai.
Hentai, thank you, sir.
Squids.
It ain't all so. I mean, we got children in the house. I don't think that's a conversation we need to be having right now.
Real talk, right? Here's real
You
talk.
asked me about watching movies. I was about to say something.
He was like, yeah, let's back off.
What movies you want to
I was in the movies, Daredevil. I've been watching that again. The Netflix one. Got to see season 3, and then it's actually pretty good.
You gotta understand, my partner doesn't watch anything that is adult oriented. It's all kid shit.
Who, me?
Yeah, you.
I mean,
it's okay. I mean, I love Marvel too. You know. So,
I mean, but it's not a show for kids at all.
I mean,
It's more of a darker.
It's
superhero.
like
It's very dark.
tell me you don't get done watching the show, man. I wish I had superpowers like that.
I mean, I've been like that all my life.
Flash.
Yeah, I'm perfectly fine with that.
I remember when Incredible Hulk came out.
Oh hell yeah.
Not the sorry one, the 2003 one.
They all sorry. What are you talking about? Yes.
Don't talk about.
Wait, you talking about the
The
little
2003 and one we had.
2008 was good.
That was not good.
Ed Norton was good.
No, he's a good actor, but that was a horrible
Ed Norton
movie.
is a good actor.
So, that's my
Oh,
movie,
see,
yo.
he said, this is him watching the Hulk. I can go anybody else.
Yeah, that's my movie. I ain't lying. When I came out of that movie, I think we watched that. Me and my wife watched that movie like 13 times.
That movie is trash.
Yo, that movie's amazing.
Trash.
I'm
You also
telling
thought Justice League and Batman vs Superman is good.
I didn't say Batman plus Superman was good. I said Justice League is the bomb.
That's still just as bad.
Have you seen any of those movies?
I still have.
You don't watch any? What do you like to watch?
I don't know. I don't really watch movies like that.
You don't watch nothing?
Not too much.
What do you watch?
What?
History Channel?
I don't have time, man. I don't get to watch too much TV.
The only time I watch something else on
I mean, okay, what do you listen to? What are you doing? What do you know? You know nothing?
Yeah, I listen to the radio a lot. I'm
Justin
bored
Bieber
listening to
listener
the-
like him?
All right, man. You're
I'm
up there.
old school DAS
You
guy.
lying, yo.
Okay.
You lying. This man will sit there and watch football.
Oh, college football. Yeah.
College football all day long. All day long, talking about you don't watch
All
nothing.
day.
Oh, that's
Matter of fact, to the point like this, I gotta make my own room downstairs. Don't bother me.
That is true. That's a college football room.
Yeah, I tell you, but during quarantine, man, that was the thing. Like, me and my wife would watch something every night. We got into Money Heist, which was really good.
And How to Get Away with Murder, since you keep bringing it up.
How to Get Away with Murder. Yeah, that's a dope ass show, man. A lot of twists and turns.
My wife loved that damn show.
Yeah.
It's finished, right? Like I think
It's like 6 seasons, man, and we're like still in the first season. It's a good movie. It's a good show. It's a good show. It's a lot of twists and turns. I don't know, man. I'm just it
Good compartment.
creeps me out a little bit. You know, there's just so much of that. You know, oh man.
Hey, just speak your mind.
Yeah, yeah. It's got so much of the
Sexuality.
homosexuality on there, like, you know. And I always say I don't have a problem with it. Like, I used to dance around a lot. What you do is fine with me. I don't care.
just a little uncomfortable seeing it.
I just don't. You know, I don't know why. I just don't want my son seeing it.
See, look, this is the thing that gets me too. Not even just about two men, two women, two whatever. But it just
I might be seeing.
no. I knew you were going there. But
I think it's going to
But my thing is though with just America in general, how you show somebody head getting ripped off, it's like, oh, that's crazy. But you show half a boob. Ban this movie.
Oh, no.
I'm just like, how you okay? Like,
I don't think it. I don't. I mean, I just.
Not you in general. but
No,
just
man, I
America.
mean, I don't know how I feel about it, man. You know, like, it's one of those things where you go, you know, I like to think that I'm pretty progressive in that, you know, like, hey, homosexuality don't bother me at all. Like, I'm cool with, you know, I don't judge nobody. I just, you know, it just hard to see it on my TV when I'm watching it. If I'm watching it around like my kids or something like that, you know, 'cause, like, this is not a pay channel TV. It's ABC. It's on ABC, man. You know, like. And I'm not talking about it peck, that's cool, hug, that's cool, but they show more homosexual sexuality than they do heterosexual sexuality. And to me, I'm like, I don't know how I feel about it. You know, like,
Well, let me ask you this. It's kind of the same note. So, who's your favorite rapper?
I mean, I'm always down with LL.
Okay. All right, we go.
Ladies love.
Okay, all right. Let me ask you this. Now, do you like it because of his style of rapping, what he's talking about, his persona as a rapper? Like,
It's LL, man. It's all about, you know, it's LL. It's like,
It's
you know,
swag.
ladies love him. He looks smooth. You know, he always doing the lip thing. Girls like that shit. You know what I'm saying? It's like, and that, you know, and to me, like, when I was younger, I get a whole lot of comparison to him. You know what I mean? When I was all ripped up and everything. And then, like, I love his music. You know, I can rap, I can spit his lyrics all day long. I mean, I Need Love is like a classic, man.
so let me ask you this: if LL came out the closet tomorrow,
I mean,
let me finish. And he said all the songs that he wrote about in the past were about dudes.
Don't bother me.
Okay, but do you think a rapper could be as successful as a gay artist?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
Absolutely. I mean, it's just the stereotype that, you know, if you're gay, you're more feminine. But that's not always the case at all. I mean, I've seen gay men that are, you wouldn't even know they were gay unless they told you. Or you have a conversation when you realize, wait a minute, that doesn't sound right. Okay, then, you know, like, and you're looking at it a little different than I do. So I don't think it's just a stereotype that they're not as masculine when they are. 100% are.
As a rapper, you're supposed to be hard.
It's, you know, it just, you know, for me, like, I mean, I don't know how, like, for me to see two men hooking up, it's hard for me to watch that.
Right.
It's hard for me to watch that. You know, I'm not saying it's wrong. It's just hard for me to watch. You know.
I mean, they feel the same too.
What'd you say?
I'm sure they feel the same too. Two men, two women. You know,
I
it is
don't
what it
know
is.
because me and my one client, he's gay, I'm not, but we gonna both appreciate a nice ass. Of course, I'm looking at women's ass, but he's looking at both women and men, but appreciating ass and stuff. I'm just saying.
Just saying.
I'm just saying. And but like I told you the one story. Matter of fact, this is a funny story to tell on here. So he's getting ready for a show.
Got it.
His testosterone's going through the roof, and he was like, "Yo, I'm like horny as hell for no reason. What's going on?" He talked to you about it. You told him why, because your testosterone's higher. I explained the same to him, and he told me, he's like, "Yeah, still crazy, man." Da da da. So we're on reverse pec deck, and it's the machine where you right here to work the back of your deltoids.
Rear deltoid.
I legit corrected myself as soon as I said it. So we're at the gym, right? And he did his first set, and he said that's when he said that. So right at the beginning of the second set, he looks around and is like, "Yo, it's all this ass in here." And I'm just like, "Oh, word? Where?" Because like per we said, we can both appreciate it.
He's like, "Oh, this is the training center. Ain't that much of it?"
Yeah, so I was like, and it was a Saturday too. So I was so. I was like, word, I look up, right, as soon as he does his first rep, and I'm like, see no ass? What ass? I'm like, oh. And I just started laughing hard as hell. He's like, what's funny? I was like, I'll tell you after the set.
So, I mean.
I'm not finished the story. So, he finished his set. He's like, what was you laughing at? I was like, see, today is confirmation that I know I'm 100% not gay. He was like, why? He's like, you said there's all this ass in here. I look up, I see nothing but man's ass. And I was like, ugh, that's not me. He busts out laughing. I was like, hey man, you do you. But
I mean, it's crazy, right? It's got to be crazy for you because, like, when I know how much different it is now, like, I mean, nobody in my school would have admitted that when I was in high school. Sure. Nobody. Nope. You know, the one guy who we knew he even denied it.
Right.
You know, and now, you know, it's you know, these guys, I got equal rights with everybody else.
It's like in the sex ed class, like I was telling you.
Yeah, they talking about teaching anal sex and all that stuff.
I don't know if we told you about it, but on I think it was Jersey, I don't remember state, but they're putting anal sex in sex ed now. And I didn't think about it until he pointed out, but he's saying how progressive we are today. Their sexual education is just as important as a heterosexual.
I mean, I'm sure they be making a lot of mistakes. You know, we make so many mistakes heterosexually, and there's nobody talking about that, so I know they make all types of mistakes.
Yeah. So I mean, but when he put it out that way, I was like, that makes sense, and I feel like it should be there. And then somebody's like, I want my kids learning that. Then I was like, if they don't learn it there, they gonna learn it somewhere else. So calm down.
I don't know how I feel about it either, man. I mean, it's a hard adjustment. I mean, it is because here's the thing, right? When you're a kid, you're heavily influenced. I mean, you're heavily influenced. I mean, that's why when we watch Juice, and I walked down the theater wanting to beat up. No, I mean you laugh, but it's true.
I know.
You watch Juice, you come out all hype, man. Yeah, man, fuck these people, man. They ain't gonna mess with me. You watch Roots. A lot of kids watch Roots. They come out and watch Roots. They pissed off. And all of a sudden they hate every white person for a hot minute. You know, if you're getting pounded with that information all the time, you know, I don't know if it like. Everyone says it's a choice, right? Like, I mean, everyone says it's not a choice. You're born that way. But what I'm saying is, I have a client right now who has never been into that. And she's just had so many bad experiences with guys that her and her friend connected, and now they're in a relationship.
I mean, I kind of see that coming, though. And then I'm not being mean. I'm not being mean. Like, that's just like I've seen it come in the sense of how she carried herself and the conversations we had.
Well,
but
I've seen her in many different settings and traveled with her because she competed at nationals and did other things. I never saw it coming. And from hearing her talk, I never saw it coming. You know, so like to me, I'm going to myself like, can you be influenced that way?
I feel like it's
I don't know. I mean, and if you are influenced that way, I don't really think it matters. I mean, you choose whatever you choose, but you know, I don't know. I mean, how do you feel about it?
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, because like you said, us growing up, it wasn't that open.
Not
Like
like
now, it's like accepted, you know. But growing up in that era,
The air is different.
yeah, it was totally different because even if you didn't hear about it.
Yeah.
Any people you knew that were, they didn't really talk about it.
no.
You know, and you can. I mean, I remember I could count the people on one hand that I knew that were kind of open about it.
Yeah.
But very few. You know, so it wasn't really accepted. But now, like society, and like I agree, even some of your TV shows, you know, they're kind of gradually put it in there. You know, and it could be.
Now you need to watch this show. It is not gradually at all. I mean, they are getting it down. I'm like, maybe I should take.
They just hand you a real world shit.
What were you about to say?
No, I mean, I was gonna say, like, it just depends on the individual. Like, I got a lot of best friends that are gay or bisexual, and yeah, sure, some of them might have had bad experiences growing up with, you know,
Male or female?
terrible things, or both.
Okay.
Both. One of my closest friends, male, and to the point where it's like I got his back, and that's why he feels really comfortable with me, because we'll be in public, and he'll see he's very flamboyant, and you know, if we're all at the mall or something, of course, guys might look and be like, whatever. He'll grab my hand, but I'm comfortable enough. Because I've always liked females, you know what I mean? Like, and I'll just hold it, and it's almost
Really?
kind of like I would. That's how comfortable I am with myself. And why I'm saying it depends on the individual whether you're influenced, because I grew up. Luckily, my parents were very open-minded, and I grew up to watching movies like Rocky Horror Picture Show. I don't know if you ever heard of that.
Nope.
But
Right. Please tell me you're joking.
No, he might not have. He might not have.
It was on like
it's-
Fox every
Right.
what was it? Not Halloween.
Have you heard of that?
Right.
Rocky Horror
Picture Show.
Yeah.
But
I've never seen it though.
yeah, Tim Curry was in it, one of his first big roles. But either way, it has a lot to do with like homosexuality and cross-dressing and stuff like that. But for me, I like watching it even as a kid. I just like I never like turned to my dad or my mother and was like, well, why are they doing that? I kind of just accepted it.
Yeah.
It is what it is. People are who they are.
And it didn't influence your decision.
It didn't influence me at all.
Yeah,
Like,
I know. Well, I mean, and here's why I say that, because, like, you know, my boy Tommy that lives in Florida, right? We were super close. Like, never, if you saw me and Tommy was there. And we were so close. We were so close, my dad thought we were gay. Like, we were always together. But, you know, like, we hung out all the time. And those boundaries get skewed because you're hanging out all the time. Like, you know, all of a sudden, you're watching TV and there's a large-ass couch, y'all sitting next to each other. Like, you're sitting next to me. You know what I mean? You know, and so, I mean, I don't know, you know, I don't know, like I said, I don't know how I feel about it, but I just know that for me, like, for me, when I see the action, it's like,
yeah.
I gotta shut my eyes, you know. But again, I'd be hypocritical to say it shouldn't be on there, because look how what we're talking about right now in society,
Equality.
and how much is coming out with equality, right? So, you know, I gotta respect that, because people are people. Everybody's got their right, and what makes someone saying they don't like homosexuality any worse than someone saying they don't like black people? You know, you gotta. I would never say that. And again, like I said, I mean, I got a lot of friends that growing up that were homosexual just from being in the dance community and never thought about it. It only bothers me when I'm seeing them on TV and I'm like, oh, I'm just not ready.
Yeah.
Just
Oh,
not ready.
hey, don't get me wrong. Like the first, now, granted, it wasn't like, I mean, growing up in New York, right, melting pot, like, but they took me to a club.
You from New York?
Oh my God.
I mean, I'm from a lot of places.
You got
really.
kids?
No, I don't got
Okay,
kids.
all right. I'm learning a lot about you today.
I know. I mean, you know what? We never.
But I never had him blocked, though.
Yeah. I don't know how.
So I got that one.
We'll tell that story now.
But I mean, you know, like I've always been comfortable with it. But then we went to a club called Escuelitas, and since then it's kind of shut down or changed into something else. But it's more so it's gay predominantly, but not like all men. Like it's a good mixture. But even me going in there, being comfortable with it, I was kind of like, I held my drink for like
Bro.
a couple of hours.
We went.
Just sipping, but then finally loosened up. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, because you know you just don't.
Gay
I
clubs
also
be
had
having
some
the best music, right?
Yo,
They be having the
it's
best
the
music.
most
I've
fun.
heard
Because I'm
It
telling
is
you,
the
when I was
most
in
fun,
Myrtle
like-
Beach one time, Myrtle Beach, right? It was me and my boy Shannon. And we leave the club, and we ain't ready to be done. We were in Myrtle Beach, like we ain't ready to be done. They were like, oh, go down to this club down here. It's an after-hours spot. We go in there, man. I'm like, yo, this music's dope. Yeah. I'm like, oh, that girl over there look alright. She's tall. I'm like, damn, her Alabama strong.
She got some strong.
Wait a minute. These dudes up in here. Yeah, but shit, the music was good. We stayed. Ended up actually dancing in the cages one night at that spot. So, like, hey, whatever. Like I said, man, I love all people. I'm just saying, like sometimes it's just hard to see it on TV,
I feel like it's just like for your generation, it's just
adjusting.
It's adjusting to it.
It's adjusting.
Just like they had to adjust to black people being able to drink water with them.
Damn.
I remember my son was like, I don't want these pink sneakers, man. I about lost my money. You got no pink sneakers.
Yeah, like when I was
pink sneakers.
Like when I was at pink hoodie.
Say something. I used to wear pink tees all the time.
What?
Yeah, and look, when we got
to say something.
when we ordered the pink
husky, Brian.
this is the worst one. We ordered the pink hoodies, and I just wanted one. He's like, "You want a pink hoodie for?" I'm like, first of all, what do you worry about me for? And then what made it even worse was I left it in the office one day. I'm like, what is pink hoodie? I look at stories. Boom. Stories. It's like, you know what? I'm like, I DM. I'm like, yo, you got my hoodie? It's like, yeah, what was there? Outside. I was like, come on, man. Took me like 3 weeks to get that hoodie back.
The world changes every day, man. It's crazy. And the stuff that, it's just funny because when you're growing up, just the way things have changed in our lifetime is just amazing. Technology, the way people feel about things, And I'm just going to say this, man. Like, I think right now, like somebody said to me yesterday, right, who I trained, he said, man, you better vote for Trump. He's got, my business is doing better than ever. Like, yeah, man, but what point do we look at humanity and go, man, we just pulling apart?
Yeah.
Like, we just ain't together on nothing, man. And like, I think a leader's job is to bring people together.
He's in bunkers. What? The world needed, or the U.S. I should say, needed this man because he is the leader.
The world needed because I'm telling you, like, there's people in other countries marching for the same shit.
This is true. This is
so
very true.
The world needs it. The world needs a strong leader, man. And if you're only worried about your own game and what's going to hit and appeal to you and a select few people, like it or not, the majority is not upper class.
Right.
And you can't just leave everybody else behind.
I just saw this meme on, I think it was a meme on Facebook saying, the thing that's killing America now is voting for the lesser evil. And
like Biden ain't no better, man. Like this dude be saying off the cuff stuff. He don't even. His speeches don't be making sense.
I
think this is the first year Mickey Mouse going to get voted in, man. Mickey Mouse.
Look at what's it called? They wrote in Harambe on the Florida ballot when Trump ran. He got like over 100,000 votes. Harambe got over 100,000 votes.
Man. It's terrible. Like, this is the best we can produce. But I think it's one of those things where, like, when older generations, they were dictated to what was important.
Yeah.
Right? So, like, right now you have social media. What social media does and all the different outlets we have allows people to think for themselves. Mm-hmm. Right? Because now I can find somebody like-minded like me so I can feel confident in my beliefs. Mm-hmm. So the idea of being the end-all, be-all politician, lawyer, doctor, the president isn't the only thing that makes you feel good, like makes you feel esteemed, makes you feel like accomplished. Yeah. You can see a lot of success and see a lot of accomplishment in any endeavor you just decide to go after. Mm-hmm. So I think and that's seen when you see guys that are like 3 million followers for eating a certain way on YouTube. Right. No, I'm serious, man. That's a huge thing, right? You're like, who thought you could make? So now people go, well, I can make money doing whatever I love.
Exactly.
I don't have to do it this way, And before you would have people become lawyers just because it was the thing to do, and because that's what their parents pushed them to. And now you got so many outlets right now that go against that say, do what you love, not what you're supposed to do. Exactly. I think the quality of people coming up through the politicians and things kind of changes. Mm-hmm. It's no longer. It's like you're bred for that.
Right.
Yeah.
I feel like where we'll see like the maximum amount of change is like probably 20 years from now, just in regards to the people of like my generation and the generation before me, after me, like when they become politicians. Not saying it's not changing now, but that's like when we'll see a hard change.
Well, this is why I say, he's not the guy, because before Trump got elected, we really felt like racial equality had furthered itself. Like, everyone did. Whether it's because we were naive or because all the people that thought they could say what they're saying without worrying about repercussions wouldn't have said it.
Yeah, right.
Because you got a black president, and the other white presidents before them weren't as bold and so crass, like, make America great. Well, what's wrong with America now?
Yeah.
Except that you had a black man in power and minorities are starting to rise up. What's wrong with that?
Has it really been great?
What?
Has it really been great to be?
No, it's like, again, like, it's been good for those that have.
Yep.
Right? Me and my sister talk about it all the time. Like, we have businesses. When Obama was in power, the amount of penalties, the amount of fees, the amount of extra things that they tacked on to be in business made it hard to be in business because you have to pay so much.
Yeah, who were we talking? No, I take that back. I was talking to my roommate yesterday, and he was explaining to somebody at his job what the red line was for the mapping out the cities and poverty and whatnot. And he was saying how they legit red line off poverty communities, which were 90% of the time minority or black communities, saying if you go into this area, you have to charge them double the interest rate or whatever amount more than the interest rate, or give them less of a loan because they're in that area, knowing that it was all primarily minority populated.
Yeah, that's a little different than what I'm talking about. But yeah, that definitely happened.
Yeah.
But, just in general, for all people, black, white, whatever, when Democrats are in power, typically small business owners take a bigger hit, right? And so from that perspective, yeah, Trump's the man economically. But you can't just forget about other people. You have to worry about other people and think about the common person, because common person working for somebody else who is not a producer, more of a consumer, he's no good for them.
Yeah.
And if that's the majority of people, right, because 80% of people are going to be employees, 5% are going to be business owners, and that other small percentage of 15% is going to be your self-employed, right? That's normally the numbers, how it breaks down. And so that self-employed and business owner, it can't be the only people we worry about.
Right.
They can't. So, I think, and he's just like, yeah, this is my agenda. If you fit into it, great. If you don't, and then and what's crazy to me is like, I had this client. They ain't got two nickels to rub together, and he's more than a client, just in the gym, and got all types of problems. To the point where the health insurance, they don't even have health insurance because you can't keep a steady job. Well, who would help with that? Obama, right? And she's like, I'm voting for Trump. Trump ain't for you. Like it don't matter what he's saying. In his mind, he has never thought or heard or known your type of broke. Yeah. Like, he ain't for you.
Yeah, he is not for
you. You don't have two nickels to rub together. You better get some of that government assistance.
I was watching
that ain't the way you live.
There's this new show on Netflix called The Patriot Act, and they pretty much break down everything what's wrong with the world in general.
Right.
One I really think you should watch is called How America Made the World Fat.
Oh my God!
But
definitely.
But
definitely.
Well, if we want to talk about that, I'll get to that second. But the one I watched today is about why the public transit system is just terrible, and like in America as opposed to anywhere else. And don't quote me on everything, but it's simply much how Trump wanted to pass this bill to make give public transportation more money, but how they would give the money would take double the time it would to be able to fix things like transit routes, material for the buses or equipment and whatnot. And it was like, do you think Trump actually know what a bus is? It's like, you think he ever been on public transit system? So how is he going to fix public transit system if he's never been on it? So it's just like, in the case that you're saying, how's he going to say, I'm going to fix poverty? We don't know what being poor is about.
Yeah, for me, none of them or care about the poor because none of them pump education. You know, like, I mean, that's how you fix poverty, because poverty is a state of mind. You know, like, there are real challenges, but if you have no hope, then you have no drive to get yourself out of the situation. So now you're looking for the shortcut to get out of it. When you have education and you learn something, it gives you the drive to want to display that knowledge and to want to go after the next thing. And you realize, you know what, if I do it this way, and a lot of times it's just about walking 10 blocks to get out of the area you're in. You know, because a lot of times 10 blocks is all that separates a nice area from a bad area.
Absolutely.
You know, but if you don't not understand that, and you don't have anybody around you to show you that, right? And then like someone said to me this week, you know, like, you know, did your dad have this conversation with you about the cops? No, he didn't, because he always kept me almost in a segregated situation. Same arts kid. There might have been one other black kid. There was no black people on my football team. That tells you how white that school was.
That's wild.
You know, all my friends were white, right? So, other than a few fights in the locker room, I ain't really fighting no white people, right? I was cool with all of them. It wasn't until I started driving that I even started recognizing the difference in areas of the city. You know, like, I wasn't even noticing that when I go in town with my mom, it's mostly black, and then when I'm out here in the suburbs, it's mostly white. Like, I had 4 black families in my entire community, and we were one of them. But it didn't matter. We just all played as kids, you know. So I didn't even recognize any of that stuff. You know, it wasn't until, like I told you on the last podcast, when I went on that trip with the Boy Scouts, that I even got exposed to racism. You know, and you know, so like one of the things that you got to realize is that I didn't even know there was a such thing as what I couldn't do. Like, my cousins were talking about, man, a white man ain't gonna let you do that. What? I didn't even understand that. What do you mean a white man ain't gonna let me? I'm gonna do whatever the hell I want to do. Because my dad always showed me, if you're willing to work hard enough for something, you can get whatever you need to get. Right? So, and that's how I've not quit on a lot of things that I've gone after. Because I was taught from day one, if you work hard enough, you can achieve anything.
And it goes, this comedian said it on YouTube I was watching.
How you gonna talk about a comedian after
because
serious ass speech?
Because it goes into what you just said, and we heard this story on every podcast, so this is probably like 9th time people have heard this story.
Ain't nobody hear that story before. I have never talked about
you get thrown by rocks every time.
I never said anything about. Did y'all hear anything about throwing about rocks?
I
did not hear that.
When you went into the city, when you started driving, I couldn't go to town. Then I saw my cousins, so I was like, oh, black people.
I didn't even say it like that. It sounded like Mr. Big Bird.
But when I was
Lay it on Sesame Street.
what I was saying was, he said that too. And it's like, he said it jokingly, but it also made a point too. He's like, you gotta understand with black people. It's because white dude said it. He's like, when people say, won't you just obey the law when the cops do something to you, that's a genuine question. Because it's like, think about every white person that's got arrested. We actually had to do something for them to treat us the way they treated you. So then it's just like, so me saying, why not just obey the law, is a valid question. Obviously he was joking, but he still has a point on this thinking of, think of every white person who heard the news that got like beat the hell up or got arrested, like, or did some extreme stuff to the point where they had to get arrested. They actually did something wrong for them to get treated like an animal. And even in some cases, like the kid who shot up the church, got taken to Burger King. So they see us getting our
He got brought out with a vest on.
Yeah.
They protected him.
Yeah, but they see us get our ass beat, they be like, oh, what'd you do? So it was a joke, but think about it. It kind of makes sense.
Yeah,
but it's not right.
But that's one of the things I always. Oh man! All right, since we're getting into this, because of the whole police brutality thing, and people want to say, oh, about white people die at the hands of police more than black people. Yeah, but that white person was probably scuffling with them motherfucker for like 15 minutes before he even got. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
I mean, to me, that's an irrelevant point though, because the percentage of white people is so straight.
But this is the main thing too: is we fight against police brutality, regardless of race in general. That's how I'm looking at it. Now, granted, yes, we are the main people that get beat up. But somebody like when the old white guy got pushed out in New York, I think it was in New York, and he busted his head open. There was no reason to push that old man.
Oh yeah.
And then they was like, "Where's all lives matter for this?" When Black Lives Matter, it's like, "This is still bad. We used to fight against this as well." But I'm just saying.
I mean, at the end of the day, like you're arguing a mute point, because if we're talking about police brutality, then we're talking about, does it really matter if more white people go through it than black people, or more Asians go through it, or more Hispanic? Nobody should be going through it.
Exactly.
Nobody should be going.
Right. So
that's
the thing is, you're accepting a position. And again, I've never been a cop, so I can't tell them how to do their job. And I'm sure in the moment, your adrenaline goes from 0 to 100, and you're like, you're just on it, right? Like, I mean, my black neighbor, who one of the other black families, I used to hang with him all the time. He was a cop, state cop, and he talked about beating the shit out of somebody because they gave him a hard time. So very early on, I learned I'm gonna be super respectful to the cops because I don't know, because they're just people. So you don't know what kind of day they had. If they had a bad freaking day, should it end up in death? Absolutely not.
That is, to me, that's still like no excuse. Though.
I'm not
You
saying
are a
excuse,
public servant.
but true. But how do you protect yourself? So my point is, when I'm pulled over, I'm super respectful, even to the extent of I'm trying to pull over as fast as possible so they don't have to chase. I'm trying to make sure that I gotta find nothing when they get up there. One time the cop walled up, my son's like, "Dad, turn the music down." I'm like, "Oh yeah, good point."
Right. Turn that music off.
And I've been spoiled because I train a lot of cops, so of course most of them walk up like, "Oh, you're that Olympia guy, you fredbiggiesmalls, whatever." And then they come up and they talk to me, and then we end up talking about training. They let me go. But on the few occasions where they haven't, the size intimidates. The size intimidates. They walk up and they expect something, and you don't know what kind of experiences they've had. And it came to fruition for me when my one client who's black in the city, he's like, "Unfortunately, man, a lot of times it's us that be acting up." And you go, so we got to be smarter, man. And that's no different than what I've said before in another podcast. You're going to have to see more people to get the same equal return, because people do business with people that look like themselves. But you just know that, and that's how you deal with it. Now, it doesn't make it right or wrong. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about how you protect yourself, right? So you do,
I've always cooperated. You know what I mean?
Yes, no, thank you, bye.
I mean, you kind of in the middle though, bro.
I am.
They walk up there like, "Is he? Is he not?"
No, absolutely.
Spanish.
But like I said, I used to fly a
like,
Puerto Rican flag all the time. You would know because of the way I look. And it's like,
especially New York too.
But I would get it from both sides. Of course, people would be like, "Oh, you fake Puerto Rican," or blah blah. You know what I'm saying? It's all this shit. But I've been pulled over for walking because of this. Like wearing something like shit.
I remember in the '90s, like if you was dating a white girl, you'd be like, "Man, I think she got a little Spanish in it." Come on, Tim, you know what I'm talking about. You're like, "Yeah, are you dating a white girl?" "Nah, man, she a little Spanish." Yeah, but shoot,
She had a little curve right there.
my girl in high school was blonde hair, blue eyed, man.
What?
And her mom was Puerto Rican. I was like, "She's Puerto Rican."
No, my best friend, blonde hair, blue eyes, look like that. Puerto Rican.
Yeah,
We're a mix of everything, man.
Yeah,
That's the thing about
Literally,
it.
you know the difference between me and him? A boat trip. Where they stop. That's the only difference.
Oh, explain.
Yeah, elaborate.
Talking about, man.
So, all right, so
That's a Chris Rock line.
So, all right, so when they got us from Africa, right? You got the Caribbeans, you got Puerto Rico, you got Dominican Republic, you got everywhere in between. You got
South America.
South America. So the only difference between us, Puerto Ricans, Dominicans, and everything is where the boats stop and whoever visited that colony. Gotcha. So Puerto Rico, whoever visited, Spaniards, whoever else.
Yeah, they came into the same thing.
Exactly.
They killed off the Tainos.
Exactly.
That was our indigenous people. And then that's why I look like this, because the Spaniards.
Yep.
Because they're from Europe. They're all light skinned.
Okay. So it's like I said, that's the only difference is where the boat stop.
Anything you want to add, brother?
No, man, you good.
You staying out of that?
Staying out of
Okay, politically correct. All right, man. Well, I want to appreciate you guys coming on this. Can you give us some words of advice when it comes to parenting for these people that are listening? How is it that you were so successful with your children?
I always say, you stay close to your kids. No matter what. Me and my son we probably are closer than probably most dads and sons. Like we talk almost every day. We still talk. Started in college and in my little one now. Staying close to them, knowing what they're doing, keep them busy. But I always say, just stay close to your kids.
Yeah.
It's the most important thing for me right now.
Little stuff, right? Little stuff. Like I know, for me, training with Monica, having her with me, trying to do the business I'm doing, that's really cool. And then like, you know, Stevie in there, like I tell my kids, I make it known, I tell them all the time, man, when all 4 of them are here, that's the happiest I am.
Yeah.
You know, because I mean, like when they're all with me, nothing beats that. Nothing beats that, you know, especially since they got such different personalities and things, it's really cool, man. But, and seeing them go through life, so, you know, I always said, if my kids can respect me as half as much as I respect my dad, man, I'm doing good.
Yeah.
And it's a good feeling. It's a good feeling. So, shout out to Monica. She graduated college with a high school with a 4.6.
Already?
4.6 GPA. Yeah, I was killed it, yo. Killed it. So, Dad never. I don't think I got a 3.
I was gonna say, I know.
3.1 maybe. But 4.6, you know, so she set a new level, so that was dope. That was really dope. I'm proud of her. But all right, so thanks for hanging out with the Big Talk podcast, where we tell you to believe in yourself, inspire others, and grow mentally and physically every single day.
And kick cameras.
Kick cameras. See, you had to mess up the
Yeah,
end.
I did.
Why did you mess up the end, man? I was on a roll.
Bye, y'all.
All right, please like, subscribe, ring the bell. See you.